I'm gonna put the YouTube live stream in the chat.
Great. I'll share it with whomever needs it.
All right. All right, I'm just gonna get things queued up here in the background. Probably start in like 5 minutes or so.
Great. It looks like someone by the name of Frank M just joined us. Hello, Frank. We're still getting set up, so we'll start soon.
Hey guys, for those of you who joined, welcome to our webinar. We're gonna get it started probably a couple minutes after it's 3 p.m. here on the West Coast, just to give everybody a chance to join in. So if you're joining in, just hang tight, maybe grab tea, coffee, whatever you have, or water, and we'll get started in like 3-4 minutes or so. Also, feel free to say hi over on the chat. Just say where you're joining from. That'd be great. What brought you here? And it's me and Alma here on the data side, and we'll be hosting the webinar for you guys. It is 3 here. We'll just give a couple more minutes for people who are joining in a little late, and then we'll get started. Again, thanks for joining. We'll just give a couple minutes for everyone to join in. Feel free to use the chat. Tell us where you're joining from. Meanwhile, love to hear where everybody's coming from. Portland, great. We're in Portland as well. And it is sunny here today. Finally. Oh yeah. I think that's gonna be pretty much the same for everybody joining from Portland. We're finally getting sun after what felt like weeks of rain. So it's great here today. I'm actually heading out camping after this, so I'm super excited. How's the weather in Toronto, Frank? All right, what do I go ahead and get started? And we'll let everybody who's joining late, join while I do the introduction. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being here with us. Today's webinar is going to be around hacking data engineering. So a lot of good resources out there for you, free resources to go and be a data engineer on your own and study in the path of becoming a data engineer. And what are we going to promise you to walk out of here, aside from all the good resources, is also a cheat sheet. So something you can share easily with a lot of people, or just put it, in your back pocket, or save it somewhere in your computer, which will have all the resources that we're gonna share with you today. I also have with me Alma, who's on the call here. Alma is my great colleague. Alma, why don't you maybe introduce yourself for a sec?
Yeah, hello. Glad to be here. Glad y'all are here too. I've just been lurking in the background. But while Par is doing the presentation, please feel free to message me on the group chat. And if it's a question we need to save to the end, we'll address it later, or I can just answer questions in real time. That will be my role mainly here. So welcome.
Thanks a lot, Alma. Okay. So I'm Par, or Parham Parvizi, my full name. You can contact me at parham@datastack.academy. I've been in data for about 20 odd years. I taught myself programming myself around age of 16, 17. There used to be this Barnes and Noble across the street from where I grew up, and I would just ride my bike and go and pick up like programming books and have my little bookmarks. I'm not sure if I was allowed to do that, but I would just, go every time I had a problem. I mean, back then, maybe I aged myself. A lot of online resources weren't that available. So every time I had a question, I had to write back to Barnes and Noble, look something up, come back. I've been mostly working in startups and mostly working in data all my career. I just got very lucky to be at the right place at the right time, I feel like. But about right now, 6 years ago, I founded my own data consulting company called Tora. That had me busy for the past few years. But in 2021, I also started Data Stack Academy, which is a data engineering bootcamp, which we'll talk a little bit about at the end. But you guys are not here to hear about me, so let's get into what is to be a data engineer and the step-step guide of becoming a data engineer on your own, and mostly on free resources. And I truly believe, or we truly believe, it's like a step-by-step process. Really follow the steps one thing at a time. It's going to take a long time, but stick through it. What is data engineering first, though? For those of you guys who don't know, data engineering is a field that is very tightly coupled with data science or machine learning, which you might have heard of. In a typical data science work or a machine learning or AI work, a lot of the jobs or a lot of tasks is actually getting the data, getting the data prepared in the right way, and collecting the data. And all of those stuff is data engineering, and small portion of actually data science work, which is really building the AI model. You can say this is mostly data science. So in this step-by-step guide that we're going to go through today, we're going to first show you how to go out there and hear more about data engineering, the places or the resources that may be a little bit hidden when you do a Google search to find and really get involved in those conversations. Step two, we're going to show you how to set up your laptop. You need a development laptop, so all the software that you're going to need there, even some hardware stack that you need. Then we're going to give you a lot of good resources of going out there and learning the basics on your own. And the basics of data engineering is learn to code in Python and be able to learn SQL, which is a language to interact with databases. We're gonna give you some tips about building your coding profile, building a profile on GitHub. GitHub is like your social media page for coders, for developers. And we'll see like what advanced skills we have to learn. You know, what are some of those advanced programs that we have to learn in order to get a job? How do we get our hands on real-time projects that we can work on and put those on our portfolio and our profile? And I think the best part of this webinar is going to be a lot of tips around how do we go and get that first job? How do we go out in the market, and what are some tricks of getting the first job as a data engineer? And at the very end, we'll talk about some of the certifications that you might go and get. I'm not going to stay here for long. You guys probably know this on your own, but data engineering is very, very hot right now. And there's a lot of numbers that prove that. Don't take my word for it. 2-3 years in a row, data engineering has been the fastest growing field in the market. That's by Dice report, very big accredited report. And it's been growing roughly at 50% in tech, which is really impressive. If you look at the jobs on Indeed, you really see the gap of how many data engineering jobs are available, which was like around 40K when we made this presentation. But there's only 6,000 people or 6,000 people applying to those jobs. So there's a big gap in need for data engineers. And that really shows for the average salary. When you look at the average salary, you see that the average salary of data engineers is higher than any other tech in field in tech. And that's right there, you know, on Indeed. And I think that really one of the interesting numbers here was that 80% of companies, you know, in the pandemic years, in 2020 and 2021, said that they're looking to hire more data engineers. So those are some really good signs. This is a really good time to be a data engineer. Now, all right, let's go to step one. How do we get into the discussion? Where do we learn more about data engineers? Let's be out there and let's start to make our ears open to hear the news. One of the ways that I've set this up myself, I think Google Alerts for setting up news is a really great source. So you can put a search criteria, say data engineering beginner jobs or data engineering training resources. And you can set in Google Alerts a level of like how often you like to get sort of all the news aggregates. You can want to get it daily, weekly, and Google Alerts sends you an email and you can go just through the articles and read those. And often enough, there's a lot of good topics there. But some of the things that you guys might not find out there, subreddit or Reddit is a great source for getting information and getting to the know. And we can take a look at that. By the way, as I go through this, a lot of these things are links. I'm going to send out this presentation to you guys at the end. So don't worry about writing these things down. You will get the slides with the links that you can follow at the end. You also get the cheat sheet. Just kind of follow the concepts. Like, let's look at Reddit as an example. This is a great source. There's 62,000 data engineer subscribers here. And there are discussions happening daily. There's really good discussions and they're tagged as far as, career or discussions. There are a lot of good discussions around like basic beginner topics. You can say, oh, right here, looking for guidance on data engineering, Spark, ETL, Java for complete beginner. And you can follow these discussions. And if you're familiar with Reddit, people upvote. So it's very easy to find the best answers very quickly on Reddit. I highly recommend the data engineering subreddit on Reddit. The other really great resource that I like is Data Talks Club with Alexei Grigorov. Great person. I've been following him for a long time. We just got connected on also on different channels as well. Data Talks Club has a really good weekly newsletter. They also have about 30,000 subscribers there. And they do really good stuff as far as aggregating data engineering events or data events there. They also have book of the week recommendations, articles of the week, and they also do these Zoom camps, which are really short, like 1 week training courses for free that you can attend. Great place. Highly recommend to sign up for their newsletter. They also have a Slack channel, a very active Slack channel where you can ask other data engineers, live for help around anything. The other resource is a data engineering specific podcast. This one is mostly geared towards like mid-level to senior data engineers. So it's not the greatest resource for beginners, but if that's a format that you like, you like to listen to a podcast, when you're at gym or when you're like, commuting to work, that's a great resource. And maybe this is the way that you guys find us, but look and subscribe for data engineering tags on social media, data engineering events on LinkedIn, on Eventbrite. There's also these things sparking up on like TikTok and Instagram. Look for those tags, subscribe to them. Last but not least, of course, is your local meetup groups. Here in Portland, we have the Women in Tech, Women in Who Code, Free Code Camp, which has like, it's geared towards people who are learning and, doing free learning courses. These are great meetups here in Portland. Join those meetups. Search for data engineering meetups or data science meetups in your area. All right, so for setting up our laptop, what do we need? As far as the hardware goes, data engineering tends to be very compute and memory intensive, and you always have to run a lot of different programs simultaneously. But as you're learning, you also probably have your Google Chrome open, you have multiple tabs as you're researching documentation, doing the lesson plan on the website that you've found. So you want a decent amount of memory in CPU. We would recommend having at least 8 gig, with an Intel i7 core or Ryzen 7 chip. But we know that those sort of hardware, 16 gig, I would say, of memory recommended, 8 gigs minimum. But we know that those things could be expensive. Like, if don't go out, buy a brand new Mac laptop, that's that's going to be a couple or $1,000 or $3,000. You can also get away with buying a little bit older hardware, buying used hardware, maybe 3 to 5 years old. I actually have a laptop that's about 5 years old, and you can install Ubuntu on it. I've been running Ubuntu for about 7 or 8 years, no problem, love it. And what Ubuntu enables is just a much lighter operating system, so it runs much better on those like older system, and you can still do a lot of data engineering tasks that you want to do. First, but not, this is the most important thing as far as learning coding. You always need a code editor or integrated development environment, an IDE, and we highly recommend VS Code. VS Code is becoming like pretty much the de facto standard across the industry. Everybody's used VS Code. It's very light, very easy to install, and it has tons of great extensions. And you can really code and learn in the environment itself. So show you my VS Code, for example. So this is VS Code. There's a lot of extensions that you can install that allows you to easily work with different tools. There is a little marketplace for all these extensions that is easy to install. And it just manages all your files really in a nice, neat place. In this case, I'm actually demoing you guys a notebook, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but it allows you to develop code, type out code, and execute it at the same time. So really execute and learn interactively. So play around with things, run them, and manage everything here locally. After you get VS Code installed, for people who are using Windows, we would highly, highly recommend installing something that's called WSL or Windows Subsystem for Linux. That allows you to run this bash terminal, that command line that you might have seen in movies where people are typing out commands. You get a Linux or Ubuntu bash terminal, which is mostly used by data engineers inside Windows, and enables that. So that's kind of a must-have if you're on Windows. Of course, you're going to install Python. By far, Python is the easiest and the best language, I would say, as your first language, coding language that you will start. But it is also the #1 language used for data engineering. Is something around 70 or 80% of people are using Python for data engineering. There are some other programs that are related to Python that you want to get installed, like pip in a virtual environment. Pip is a package installer. It's a way for you to download other code or other packages that other people have developed and be able to use those in your code. That's a highly used technique, in Python programming. And virtual environment is a way that when you install those packages on your machine, you don't install it really on your native machine, you install in a virtual environment. So if those packages that you got from someone else, happen to mess something around, you're not messing up your machine, you're just messing up this virtual environment, and you can always delete that and start over. Jupyter Lab is what I showed you guys is an interactive coding environment. Is where you can kind of combine narrative and stories around your code and add documentation to your code, but also have these code cells where you interactively code and you just immediately run and see the results. And everybody pretty much uses Jupyter for Python programming. The other two programs that you want to get installed is Git, which we'll talk about in a second. That's a way for you to post your code to the cloud and be able to collaborate with other people and actually showcase your code on the cloud or on this thing called GitHub, which we'll get to in a second. And Docker is a great way as a containerization tool. It's a great way for you to install other software that you're going to need. Like a database. A lot of times in data engineering, we're going to work with databases or some other programs, and Docker makes those installations just super, super easy. All right, so our first step to data engineering is going to be learning the basics. And the basic for data engineering, like we said, is Python and SQL. Believe it or not, Python was actually named after the British comedy show, Monty Python. So aside from being the #1 language and #1 language used in the world, what a better language that's named after a comedy show. Great. All right, so what do we need to start learning Python? The very first step, I like to kind of dip my toes in before I start, swimming in the ocean, and YouTube is great for that. So Mosh, this person that I listed here, he has great introductory videos around SQL, Python, and other subjects. His Python one is about 6 hours long. That's a great way to just, kind of put in the background, follow along. Don't worry about if you get all the concepts. This is, again, mostly for us to dip our toes, see if this is for us. See if it's the concepts are making sense, if you like it, and we can follow around on YouTube. I would highly recommend that you set aside some time to do this. So maybe that's like 2-3 hour sessions over the weekend, or you say, okay, I'm going to dedicate 3 weekdays, 2 hours, a night to this, and just go through it and see if that's for you. But once we decide, okay, we're going to learn Python, this is cool, I'm in it, I'm gonna dedicate some more time into it. I love interactive learning. There are some really good interactive courses out there. These are courses that you don't really have to install much. Everything's there on the browser. You can code, the instructions are there, the videos are there, and you can just follow along. There's a lot of great exercises, practices, and they're free. Just take a look at them. Scrimba has one of the best ones, I believe. So you can sign up for free, and there have plenty of lessons here that you can follow and get a really better understanding of those basic Python skills and sharpen those skills, like how do we work with variables, how do we write for loops and lists and conditions. And you can see that these lessons are very short, bite size, and you can just get through them very easily. Again, I would highly recommend that you set aside some time. Make this like your mission. Like, all right, every night I will spend an hour and go through this. That's where we get like really the best results. Educative, and it's another great course. We list that here. The other thing that we really want to do is, I think, this bite-sized learning. And I really like that. So small lesson, go through a lesson, and then do challenges. And Solo Learn has a really good example of this. So if we actually go here, you can see that they have these actually for a lot of different languages. Python is one of the main ones. But you can do a lesson and then you can do a practice. Maybe you can do some cross training here. Maybe do the lesson on Scrimba and then come over here on SoloLearn and see if you can do the practice for that. That's a really great way to learn. I would say in this phase, probably would take you 2 to 3 months, even on your own, to get really efficient at Python. You just want to do a lot of exercises. Practice, practice, repeat. There's a lot of good resources out there aside from just Googling Python beginner exercises. Hacking Science has a great resource for that. There's a lot of these Python exercises that you can do, and take those seriously too. Like actually sit there, time yourself, like, all right, I'm going to do 10-minute exercise. Just put a timer on, get the prompt for the exercise, and see you can finish it in 10 minutes. That's a great way to learn. And last but not least, again, Mosh has a great video on SQL as well. You can follow that, and there's a lot of good resources on SQL as well. I would highly recommend that everything you do here as you learn in Python, one of your goals behind the scene, it's going to be that you want to showcase this work at some point. And the way to showcase that to your future employer is through GitHub. GitHub is a platform, it's like the social media platform for developers. It's where developers collaborate with each other on code, but also it showcases all these projects. So it's a way for you to showcase the projects that you've worked on and showcase your skills. And as you code, everything that you do, make a GitHub account, make a GitHub projects, post those, start building those, start showcasing those. And it shows that how much you've been working on code. Here, this is actually my GitHub profile. So we can go here. One of the things that I look for when I'm hiring people is how active they've been. So this really is going to show me how long this person has been coding, how active are they coding every day, or are they just putting a little bit here and there. This is something you want to build at the end, that the continuity to shows your work. But it's also a great place to explore other people's code. So you can go to the Explore tab. After a while that you actually put in projects, GitHub actually recommends different repository, different projects for you to look at. And all these projects are public, so you can go see the code, etc. After that, like, you actually get your own tab that you see here. But I can also see what's trending, what projects are trending. And it's really easy to say, okay, I'm only interested in, like, for example, Python projects. I want to include some keywords. And you can see, like, this diagram project is the #1 trending project. I can go there. I can see all the source codes, so see how they did it. But they also have this kind of narrative about it, each page. So it tells you, like, how to install it, how to run it, what it does. So you can see how to get this project going. And a lot of times actually has this contributing tag as well. So how if you want to actually contribute to this project, how you can get along and contribute to this project. So it has contribution guidelines here as well. So get on GitHub. Story of that. Sorry. Now, next step, what are some advanced skills that will help us land a job? And I'm gonna throw a lot of logos here at you, but remember that any one of these programs, any one of these advanced programs for data engineering will probably land you your first job. So don't worry about learning all of these. There's a lot to digest here, but maybe get proficient as one of them. These are the big ones in the industry that a lot of people are doing. dbt, Airflow, Spark, Snowflake. Those are the big data engineering tools out there that are very, very promising and active. Airflow is one of my favorites. dbt is also great. Snowflake is great. Spark is kind of like almost as a necessity for processing a lot of data, but that may be something that you would pick up around the mid-level of your career. Again, any one of these programs, if you go out there and research it on your own, will probably land you your first job. So just focus on one, see which one is better for you, focus on that one. What I would recommend that we do is that we learn these things on the cloud, because everything is moving to the cloud right now. So, and a lot of these tools are available on the cloud. So let's learn how to use them on the cloud. That's where the technology, and that's where all all the jobs are going. If not, they're already. The most important thing for us to do as we're learning data engineering is, again, to get experience and be able to showcase that. And to do that, we need a place to get our hands on real world data and real world projects. Kaggle is the #1 source for that. Kaggle is this great place as a community of data engineers and data scientists, and people share data sets, people share projects, people even share competitions. Their companies share competitions there. Great place to go. And if we go there second, let's see this. This is what Kaggle looks like. You can see up here, you have data sets. What's really nice is they've tagged these data sets by the different tags. So popular data sets, music data sets, business data sets, computer science, classification, pretty much whatever you want to feel like. Education, you can really filter by these tags. If one speaks to you, like, oh, here's Spotify, top 20 weeks in Nigerian artists. All right, I click here. There's the data that you can download. It also has this way for you to actually kind of view the data and maybe get some statistical information about it. So see if some data you're interested in working with. But the nice thing is here on Kaggle is that they have a lot of other great resources. Again, free resources here. They have courses that you can go. So for example, their pandas course is a great course. They have discussion. They even have code, so you can look at how other people have done some of these projects. They also have competitions. So this is like companies sponsoring a coding competition where you can enter those and see if you can do the challenge. You can also collaborate with others around these competitions. So great place to get our hands on real world data sets. And again, don't forget, do those projects on GitHub. Post those projects on your GitHub. So showcase your work on your GitHub. At the end of the day, when we go try to get that first job, GitHub is going to be where we can point people, where we can point employers and see, here, I don't have to tell you that I know my stuff. You go look at it yourself. Look at my portfolio there. All right, I know you guys have been waiting for this moment. So what are some tricks of landing the first job, our first job? Foremost, especially when we're learning all these skills on our own, it's a lot of companies are going to put us through a test or an interview, a coding interview, where you have some limited time, they give you a prompt, and you have to solve it. More and more companies are doing this. It's even very common that some companies do like 2 rounds of this. It's like one live session, and then there's one take-home session. Don't be scared. There's a lot of things that you can do to prepare for those. And we already said this, but it's doing those practices, doing those repetitions yourself. So hacking data science, solo learn, those are great places. They have a lot of these resources. We already looked at solo learn. Let's look at hacking data science. There's a lot of these problems. They also you can see the solution from other people. Again, I highly recommend when we do this, you sit down, set a timer for yourself.
Looks like.
Minutes. Go ahead, Alma.
Oh no, at least on my screen you were frozen for a moment, so I was going to take over.
Oh.
I don't know if that was true of our participants too, but I missed the last 10 seconds or so of what you said.
Okay, I can repeat. No worries. Thanks for telling me that. Yeah, I would say this is another example of like us being able to do these challenges, exercises on our own in order to prepare for the jobs. And you already saw Solo Learn. Hacking Data Science is another great site for this. You can see a lot of these prompts. You can see the solutions where it's been solved by other people. And my recommendation here was, as we're doing this, to set a timer for yourself. Just like a real interview question, when you do a prompt, when you want to do one of these challenges, set 10 minutes and do that under 10 minutes, then research the solution. That will start getting us ready for those technical interviews. Clash of Code is another great tool that a colleague of mine actually recommended to me a few weeks back, and I just love it. So let's look at this. These are mini code games. So it's you actually enter a room with other programmers, and you enter in a coding game challenge where you all get the same prompt. You get some time to solve it. At the end, you get to see other people's code, and it's just wonderful. It's great. You can see how you can compete here. So here there's a room here. There's already 3 people or 5 people waiting. I can join this room. I know this may seem a little intimidating, but I'm sure after you do 1 or 2, it won't be. The other great thing here is that you can also get these practice ones. I believe so. Here's the live scoreboard. These are all the people who are on top now. You can see like how many challenges they've done, etc. But I don't see that link here. Oh, there you go, practice ones. So before you get into a competition, you can also do a couple practice ones to get used to the format. But no loss. Just enter a game. If you lose, at least you're going to learn how other people did that challenge. And after a while, you get really good. This is a great way to get really good at technical interviews. All right. Now that we're ready for technical interviews, again, how do we land that first job? I think one of the biggest things that we want to do is to show that we've worked on something, to show that we've worked on projects. Now we can do that by some of the freelancing sites. I know this is a tough topic for a lot of people, but there are freelancing sites like Upwork and Fiverr where you can make a profile and you can bid on jobs that people post, and there's data engineering jobs out there as well. And you can use those as experience on your portfolio. I would also say you can do a lot of volunteering. Again, you want to do these things and you want to build that portfolio. Do these, maybe you do them on GitHub or on other places, but now you have a couple of things to put on your resume to show that you have experience. Again, Upwork, Fiverr, great platforms for that. But what we can do is to get really smart about data, our first job. Maybe getting our first job is not it's like driving the car. Maybe it's like, you don't want to go for like driving the exotic car, like the Maserati or Ferrari. Those would be like big tech companies, because there's a lot of people applying for those, and we might not have the best chance to get our first job for that. What we really want is a car that gets us from A to B, right? That's really the first job. And how do we get smart about that? How do we go places where our goal aligns? Those people are also the people who are going to hire us are looking for the same thing, from getting point A to point B. And I believe applying for consulting companies is a great way to get there. Consulting companies, data consulting companies, they're companies, and go for local companies, medium-sized companies around you, but there are companies who get projects, and they do those projects for other companies. These companies always spare up, so they need to hire someone very quickly when they get a project. So chances are is that they need a resource quickly, they need it now, so chances are you have a much better chance of getting in. And also they're often looking for junior resources that they can hire for relatively a little bit less price, but to train on the job. And on the flip side is that data consulting companies work with a lot of different projects, so we actually get a lot of experience and a lot of things to put on our resume and show that we worked on different things instead of one thing. It's a great way to start our first job. And last but not least, don't be afraid to hire headhunters. You can put a freelancer or open to work logo on your LinkedIn, and just let the headhunters, people who their job is to find us a job, to go do that. And don't be afraid to talk to them when they talk to you. So this is a little bit of hacks of getting our first job out there as a data engineer. If you want to, you can also follow some certifications. And we recommend the best certifications, again, the cloud certifications. Everything's moving to the cloud. These cloud vendors all have now an associate level or some sort of beginner level data engineering curriculum. They actually give you all the resources, what you need to study on your own to go for that certification. It's very low cost. It's usually just a couple $100, and you can take that certification. And that's something that would definitely guarantee you a good first job. If not, you put that on your LinkedIn resume, and the headhunters will definitely chase you down to try to get that first job for you or for us. Okay, last but not least, just a little bit about us. So Alma and I are from Data Stack Academy. We have a 6-month-long program that teaches data engineering to people who have no experience actually in technical fields. So we start from beginning, teach you Python, teach SQL, and we go from there. We also offer internship. So part of our program, we place you in an internship at the end. So that's a great way to get experience and put that on your resume. And we have tons of free webinars and workshops like this. Check us out at datastackacademy.com. There is a link for our events there. You can follow that. There's also a link here that I put, and also on the website, to schedule a one-on-one time to talk to me. And if you need to talk to Alma as well, you do that. One of our upcoming webinars that I really want to bring up is on July 7th, which is it's QA sessions with some senior data engineers like myself, but also people who are taking our class right now. So if you have some questions to answer, how's the class? How's it going for you? What made you decide to enter this course or class? That's a great place to ask our current students for that. I promised at the end of this webinar, we will send you this cheat sheet, so you will get a physical copy or a digital copy of all the slides, but you also get this little PDF. It's something that you can share around with your friends. It's all the resources that we went over this webinar, and you can send this so anybody can follow all the steps here and hopefully become a data engineer on their own. All right. Sorry for talking for a while, and we should now open the floor to questions. So I will go on mute for a second and let you guys ask any questions, please. You can enter them in the chat. Alma will read them off to me. But I would highly recommend go off mute. It's just us here. Just ask it yourself. And yeah, please chime in.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'll start then. So first of all, hello, my name's Eric, and thank you again for taking the time to do this presentation. I just have one quick question. I did see that you mentioned data consulting firms as a possible place to look for first jobs, and because we're both in Portland, this is kind of a Portland specific question, but are there any data consulting firms that you'd recommend in the area to check out for those of us that are looking for a first job?
Yeah, there's two. I mean, there's one that they're fairly regional now, Salon. I love them. Actually, that's a link that on this slide, if you click on that tag, it will take you to their website and their open jobs. I would highly recommend those. Toad is also a good one. I would kind of like, I would still like target medium to large size data consulting companies. So data consulting companies who have about 15 to 30, I think that's a really good spot. 50, 30 employees, they have consistent projects, but it's still not a big company that you can really grow inside of as well. Before you target somebody like super big like a Capgemini or Accenture or those guys that have like 60, 70,000 employees.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. And what was that name of the first one again?
I can't pronounce this as well, but slalom, like this skiing when you go down.
Got it.
Ski.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks, Eric. They're a great question. Yeah, I highly recommend them. Yeah, they're a great company, great culture. They're fairly larger now. They're regional, so they're in Seattle, also Bay Area, but great company. They have an office here in Portland as well.
Question. I don't see your slides. Are you sharing your screen, or is my phone just not capturing it? Where else could we find those slides?
Is everybody else seeing my slides?
We are able to see the screen, but not about the companies. It just says the Data Stack Academy.
Yeah, right now I'm just frozen on that slide, the Data Stack Academy slide. Yeah, so right now we're there. Yeah, and I know the email. I mean, if you guys have a different email that you want me email this slide to you can put that on chat now if you feel comfortable with that. But the email that you register with the Eventbrite, we'll send out the digital copy of the slides and that cheat sheet to that probably in a couple of days worth of time. Sorry, I'm going camping right after this, so I won't get back to it probably over the weekend, but I'll promise I send it out to you over the weekend.
Hi, this is April.
I have a quick question.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, April, go ahead.
Hi, April. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I will. Just I think my question's quick, but of your current cohort at Data Stack Academy, is there feedback that you've gotten from the participants of kind of the best things or the best ways to prepare to be in the academy? Because you've given us such a nice long, I would say, inclusive list of things that we could do to prepare. But are there things that your participants have said, like this was the best way for them to get ready?
Well, this list again, I would say like if our people saw this, they'd be like, oh, like they know a lot of this. by now. It'll be very easy. I would say for you again, I would really focus on those basic skills like Python. If the furthest ahead on your own you get on like the Python things and doing like a lot of those challenges, mini lessons, the easier the class is going to be for you if you get past through that beginning. But I would highly, highly recommend April, because I know you've been following us for a bit, and I highly, highly appreciate that. That Q&A session on July 7th, that's going to be a great, just ask them yourself.
Yeah,
they'll be there. Yeah.
And like, maybe I should hold this until then. Yeah, and I appreciated you had given me some tools, some places to check out, some courses, and then I looked at those and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try some other ways to get this information, because we all learn in different ways. And I found some other tutorials that I'm like, oh, this is really just more my jam and my speed, or it might even be just the person's the way of speaking. And so, yeah, no, I found some great Python tutorials, which is fun. So I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys putting this out here today, because it's, I think this is really, I love the PDF, and then the hour-long or 40-minute-long explanation of it. It's so concise. So
Perfect.
I'll let
That's
Santosi ask her question. So
that's great. Let me actually put the PDF up. Yeah, no, thanks. Thanks. Yeah, we try to like handpick sort of stuff that might actually go unnoticed on a Google search. So things that we found really helpful, but may not be, your top page of Google. I think some of these resources.
right. Thanks.
Yeah. Sorry, there was another question. I think it was Marissa, maybe. Want to give you a chance to ask that now? Yeah. I didn't see who it was, but I know.
Yeah, Ben, this is Santoshi.
Hi, Marissa. Yes.
Actually, I have a question. Yeah, I have a question regarding this data engineering advanced skills. Coming to myself, I have experience with Python and SQL earlier, and currently working as a business intelligence engineer. But I'm more interested to pivot myself to data engineering. For that, when I search online, I see like a lot of resources, and it was like very difficult to pinpoint which one to learn and all. And I saw this event, and I thought it will be very good opportunity for me to know exactly where to learn and to learn. And thank you so much for that. First of all, giving me all the details.
Of course.
When it comes to advanced skills, what do you think like good resources to learn this Apache Airflow or Spark or Snowflake? Like, do you have anything like top of your mind that it's a good resource?
You ask a good question. It's probably going to be an upcoming webinar for us, a topic to maybe learn, because I think we can pick any one of those and do a whole talk on any one of those, and we were just like short here on time, so we didn't prepare a lot of resources there. If you ask me which one of those would be my recommendation, honestly would say I don't have a specific one. I would highly say that learning on the cloud, like learning that cloud, would be like across the board. That would be my recommendation. But Airflow has just the Airflow documentation itself is really great. There's a company also called Astronomer that is the company behind Airflow, the leading company behind Airflow. They have weekly tutorials, webinars, tons of great recorded webinars on their site that you can go through yourself. And it's just Airflow is like a really fun tool to learn. It's kind of like almost, I don't want to say it's my favorite in that list, but maybe it is. The other ones are, of course, great as well. I don't have like one place I would say. It's actually, and a lot of them, like, because they're more advanced, they don't have like, it's not as like, there's not a Scrimba, like a free interactive learning on that. So maybe let me get back to you on that. It's probably going to be one of my upcoming webinars. But yeah, just a lot of those tools, I mean, they're very popular because honestly, their documentation is great. I would just start from their documentation, especially if you're someone who sounds like you have some experience already. You can probably kind of just start from there and go see where it takes you. And then, I mean, there's tons of great YouTube stuff on DBT, on Airflow as well and see where it takes you. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much.
Of
Thanks
course.
for all the details.
Yeah, thank you all for joining, by the way. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I just wanted to add one thing to your question, April. It's great if you're planning on joining a boot camp, ours, for instance, to have some practice, but the only thing you need for DataStack Academy's bootcamp is a functional computer, a decent internet connection, and the time to devote to it. You don't have to have any prior experience. And in fact, the students we had in this cohort, most of them have never opened a terminal before. They started from like really ground zero, and they're doing just amazing now. So proud of them. So if you don't have anything experience, you're brand new, don't worry about it.
Oh, I appreciate that, Alma. I wish I had this little talk before I went looking for a machine, because I had a 13-year-old machine and I bought a new one. But it's funny because I mean I did a ton of research to figure out what type of machine I would need. And then it was exactly what you guys had recommended. But I appreciate that. I think my nerves are that I've been working in healthcare for 25 years. So I feel like old and that my brain doesn't do this, right? It does something completely different. So, but that's very reassuring to know that the current cohort was really clearly at the beginning stages. So I'm hoping to join one of the cohorts if one turns into a part-time gig, just because I still have a full-time healthcare gig, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're still working on that. Again, our best case scenario is going to be around October for that, with a possibility it might get pushed to the December cohort. But I think we're going to do everything we can to make that actually the October one, which is pretty aggressive, to happen, and it's in works. We'll see.
Yeah, I think any of the timing is good for me. But I think it's really neat that you guys are putting that together. In fact, I'm going to take the intro course at Epicodus, because I understand right that like those first intro courses on the part-time stuff, is it the same as the DataStack?
Same exact one. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I think is neat about that is their little intro online course is the same. It's like 3 days a week, that's 3 hours, and then one weekend day. And so I felt like, oh, I can take that. It's like it's offered for $100, which is such an inexpensive way to trial. Like, is this type of schooling while I'm doing my other career doable? Because then if I'm like, well, it's not doable to do the two together, then I have my answer of, should I do a part-time gig or a full, or you know what I mean? So
that's a great way. Yeah, great. I mean, great. Exactly. Like just the time commitment. Like Alma said, I think the time commitment is the biggest, sort of one of the big questions, and that's a great way. Yeah, you're right. You're right on the right track, April. So
thanks. Yeah.
But a big shout out for the success, I think, of our students thus far to Alma. Alma, if you guys don't know, she's our instructor. She's amazing. Yeah, yeah, she just great way of explaining topics and very patient. So shout out to you, Alma, for the
Thanks so much.
success of our students.
I appreciate it. And I'd love to have any of you attendees as students. It's actually really fun. We've had a great last couple months with this cohort. So thank you, Param, and thank you all for being here. And I just wanted to say for April, anyone who's looking at computer, either to join a boot camp or just because you need a functional computer, there's a nonprofit in Portland that can ship to anywhere called Free Geek, and they already come with Ubuntu installed, which is the operating system that Param mentioned at the very beginning. So they're older but functional machines. They're pretty cheap, and it's a great resource if you are trying to bootstrap your way up into a career. We have just a few minutes left. Are there any more questions?
All right, we can get a few minutes back to everybody's time for the day, and I will get a couple minutes head start on my long-awaited camping trip that I keep talking about.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks again for joining. And we wish you to see you in our next events. Take care.